Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Dre Show, everybody. It's Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in today's show to hear all the relevant groundbreaking news here in America and around the world, the only show where the facts are facts and hard truths always thrive. Please don't forget to follow the show, share with whoever needs to hear the truth so we can make idiocy unpopular again in America together. Hopefully we can do that at some point. It's in dire need right now. Hope everyone's also ready for the best hour radio has to offer. Uncensored as always and ready to go. Let's jump right out of the gate with my first line of business here. And we're going to talk about Zohran Mamdani, the future mayor of New York City. The old Big Apple, which is going to become, I don't know what it's going to become. Maybe we'll call it the Big Orange at some point. Who knows? Who knows? It's going to be ridiculous, though. But here we go. We got Zohran Mamdani. And they're finding now in this YouGov poll that of American adults, found that 6 of Mamdani's plans and policy proposals are enjoyed not only by people in New York City, but actually a majority of people nationwide. Get this. It says the most popular of Mamdani's proposals was to tax millionaires and, of course, corporations, right? The people that, produce everything in this country, primarily. Some 69% of respondents said that they support the idea, including 40% of self-identified Republicans. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Well, it sounds like a great idea to tax, and, of course, try to get some of that money to alleviate the stress on the working people, of course. Sounds like a good idea, right? You get something for nothing. But somebody's always got to pay for that stuff, folks. And while you can propose free buses, free childcare, free this, free subway rides, all this other nonsense, somebody's got to pay for that. And when you put that burden on a corporation, for example, and don't misunderstand me. Some of these corporations got away with murder during COVID when they increased their wealth, I think by $700 billion, something ridiculous like that during COVID. All the money went in one place, of course, because we had people that were essential and non-essential. And then that, of course, took out small businesses. But here, the idea, though, that we're just going to tax people into wealth is just something that's not true. So we also need to understand that. But his proposal was to provide free childcare for children under the age of 5 years old. Was also very popular. 66% of respondents also expressed support for that. Also, his proposal to freeze rent for lower-income tenants, of course, with 65% of respondents saying they support the idea. So here's the problem with freezing the rent. You freeze the rent, you say, okay, no one's going to raise your rent for, X number of years. You say, thank God for that. Okay, that doesn't lower your rent, though. Your rent is already exorbitantly higher in New York City. In fact, it's number 1 nationwide. Number 2 is San Francisco. What do they both have in common? They have massive renter control laws. Rent control, right? They have it out here. Well, they had it in California where I lived as well. Many cities like Santa Monica, of course. And what happens? It's extremely expensive real estate. Now you say, okay, well, my rent's not going up. That's great. I love it. Okay. But what else are people not doing in that area? They're not going to come into that area and start building again because they know they can only charge so much for it now. And again, supply and demand should be what indicates we build more. And of course, what the pricing is for that region. We're not doing that anymore. So not only are you seeing exorbitant costs for rent in New York City, people also cannot purchase in New York City. Another big problem. So what would be the logical answer? Have the government come in and say, you can only charge this much per month? Now the government basically runs the housing market? Is that what they're supposed to be doing? Of course not. But what's going to happen is you're going to have less housing. And when you have less housing and high demand, what has to happen to that price? The minute that rent freeze is lifted, what's going to happen to your rent? It's going to go skyrocketing. It's going to go skyrocketing. Now, he can promise all these other programs. He tries to look at this Vienna model of, government-run housing. How did that work out? We've seen that before. We've seen Section 8 housing. How's that work out? Does that work out good for the people that live there? Something tells me no. What else did they find in this YouGov poll? 57% said that they support the idea of opening city-run grocery stores, while 56% said they would support increasing the minimum wage to $30 per hour by 2030. Okay, so there's two different ideas ricocheting off each other right here. So they're going to have a city-run grocery store. Who's going to run it? Well, is it going to get a committee of people to run the grocery store? What are they going to charge? Are they going to charge less for each each product? And the question is, who's going to make up that difference then? So, for example, if it costs, $1 for, Kraft cheese. Just throw that out there. I don't know. I'm thinking of cheese for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm having chicken parm for dinner tonight. Don't know. Anyways, let's say, cheese cost $1 for a little pack, 16 singles, you're all happy about it. $1. Okay. $1 is too much, though. And this city-run grocery store is going to charge you 50 cents. Well, folks, who's going to make up that difference? Where are they going to get the funding for this? Nobody knows. Another big problem, of course. And then, of course, we look at, and by the way, these have been tried before in America. They've always run out of food, of course, and they've always gone out of business. So it's not a shock here that would happen in New York City as well. All right, 56% said they support minimum wage increase. So here's the problem with minimum wage, and here's why prices are going to soar in New York City. And unemployment, by the way. If you come in and tell a business, you say, hey, you got to charge, you got to pay every employee $30 an hour now. Well, that business has got to come up with a way to find that money based on profit. So if that person who's working for you, if you have let's say you have 10 people working for you, and you've got to come up with $30 an hour for each person that's working there now. So you've got to make a lot of profit then to, again, be able to dish out that amount of wage increase. So what normally happens in times like this, the employer goes, okay, if I have 10 people working full time and I can't afford to pay them all $30 an hour for 8 hours a day, I'm going to have to cut half my staff to make this work because my profit revenue is just not there. If the employee that works there wants to, get the $30 an hour, the employer can do another thing. They can also raise the prices. See how that works? So now let's say you're at a restaurant and you got 10 employees and you say, well, I need all these 10 employees here. And he still has to make a profit, though. He's still got to pay for the electricity, the rent for the building. He's got to pay for the maintenance of the building. He's got to pay for the water. He's got to pay for the food that they buy. He's got to pay for this and that. All these other things that are calculated into this. Again, it's so funny. They say, look at this profit they make. Well, yeah, but the profit just doesn't all go in that person's pocket, especially if it's a small business. Those are the people that are going to get hurt the most. You've got to raise the prices now. To keep those 10 people employed, you got to pay them. So you got to make sure that's there. But you've got to raise the prices across the board so that way you can make a profit. If there's no profit incentive, you're not going to be in business very long. Especially if you're paying a loan back, then you're going to be defaulting on that loan. Nothing good comes from that. So again, the government can come. Why not make it 50, by the way? Why stop at 30? It's $30 an hour in New York City is nothing. I hate to sell it to you like that, but that's the damn truth. Why not make it 100? Let's be generous here. You owe that person $100 an hour. Because nobody's going to be able to keep up with them. You're going to see prices soaring in New York City. Sounds good, right? Sounds $30 an hour. Sounds really great. But in the long run, when you look at these things, it's just not feasible. And it's only going to cause prices to rise. And it's also going to be discriminatory to hire lower income workers because you're not going to take a chance on somebody of whom really you can't decide. Maybe this person will be good. Maybe they won't be good. You're not going to take those chances, especially on teenagers that try to get work. You're not going to pay them $30 an hour. When they're 16, 17 years old, you're not going to do that. And the other thing is you're also going to discriminate against the lowest skilled workers, people that are just trying to work their way into the market, right? Maybe they're attending college. Maybe they have really no skills, but they're trying to get a job somewhere. It discriminates against them also. So while they're trying to, make things work, move themselves up, some businesses are saying, you know what, I'm just not going to take a chance on this person. And again, if you want to look into that, this has been happening for years. Minimum wage should just be thrown out. People always argue, well, if you throw a minimum wage, they'll pay you like $1 an hour. Well, no one's going to work for $1 an hour, you schmuck. Of course not. Of course not. But in these menial jobs, and sometimes that's what people work to start off, they start off making less. That's just common knowledge. You know, no one should be trying to work at McDonald's for the rest of their life for 30 years, 35 years. It's just not feasible in many regards. And by the way, the turnover rate for people that work at McDonald's, by and large, is close to 100% every year. If you're working at McDonald's in November of 2025, by this time next year, the likelihood of you working there is very, very low. Unless, of course, maybe you're in a managerial position. So while Bernie comes out, well, we need to have, in New York City, we got to have McDonald's, fast food workers. All right, Bernie, who knows nothing about economics, of course, comes out and says all this stupid nonsense. But the rise for fast food, that was one thing he was pushing not too long ago. But does it make any sense to you? Why would you pay somebody $30 an hour if they're not even going to be here in a year from now for a menial task? Again, it's not to impugn people that work these jobs. I've worked those jobs before when I was growing up. It's a starting job. It's not supposed to be, the end-all, be-all. But, again, this is what we're seeing now. And again, they try to keep these people in these positions because what other opportunities do they have in some of these cases? And that's why I'm saying, if the Trump administration cannot provide opportunity for young adults, for people entering the workforce, you're going to see this big blowback coming in 2026. All right. One other thing that they pulled here as well. Let's look at this. It says permanently eliminating fares for buses. That's going to blow up completely in his face, Mamdani. With just 53% expressing support. Well, for example, the reason why this is happening, by the way, is if you have free buses, you could just sit on the bus all damn day long, do drugs, fall asleep, maybe make a tent of some kind of, something like that. Why would you get off the bus? And how can they kick you off the bus? It's free. You can sit on it all day long. That's going to be a massive, massive problem as well, especially for the people driving the bus. Do they want to deal with this nonsense? Of course not. Of course not. So there you go. Mamdani's plans sound good, but are they really good? Of course they're not good. And they're not very well thought of. But, he gets out there, he smiles, he's happy, all this other stuff. You're happy about it too? Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. Wonderful. And by the way, he got a blow the other day from Kathy Hochul. Look at this. It says in the New York Post, Hochul slams brakes on Zohran Mamdani's free New York City bus plan. Takes money out of the system that relies on fares. Well, no kidding. So again, it's a major blow to this plan that he's pushing forward. He wants $700 million. Get that. $700 million he wants the state of New York to come up with for these free city buses. And what did Kathy Hochul say? She was in, for some reason, she's speaking in Puerto Rico. God knows who would go listen to her. But she shot the plan down, and she said, we're spending a lot of money, so I cannot set forth a plan right now that takes money out of a system that relies on the fares of the buses and the subways. So there you go. You're not going to get free buses. You're not going to get free subway rides. It's not going to happen. But she wanted to say, they always throw these little, feelers out there. But we can find a path to move forward to make it more affordable for people who need help. Of course we can. Oh, yeah. Yep. Hochul happily rode Mamdani's coattails as he whipped up excitement among New Yorkers for his focus on affordability, but she balked at the actual agenda now, notably taxing the rich to pay for $10 billion in freebies, such as no-cost childcare and buses without fares. It's all not going to happen. And who's he going to blame? He's going to blame the Republicans and the wealthy. That's what's going to happen when the plan blows up in their face. So the chance for tax the rich at one of his last rallies when he had Bernie the Turd Sanders and AOC there, two people that have combined IQs of negative 70, just simply not going to go over well for him. And what's going to happen to those people that went out and voted for him? What are they going to say? What are they going to say? Well, it's, communism doesn't work. No, they're going to double down on it. They're going to say, look, the reason communism didn't work is because you didn't have everybody on board with this. That's what it's going to come down to. See how it's going to work? It's not communism that failed. It's the people that aren't buying into the process. If only we took all the taxpayers' money, right? And only we tax those corporations, 99%, right? Those big billionaires who create a product that everyone uses, right? And again, I'm not a fan of billionaires by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just telling you the truth of the matter is. These people are exorbitantly wealthy because they produce a product people want. If people didn't buy those damn products, we wouldn't have billionaires like that. Or at least in some of these categories, I should say. But in New York City, by the way, is home to, I think, 123 or 129 different billionaires. Just so we're clear on that. There's a lot of rich people who live in New York City. I think California, I think LA's got 80. I think San Francisco's got 81 or so, maybe 88. I forget what it was. And LA's got something similar to that, 80 something. A lot of billionaires, a lot of billionaires in this country, but are they going to pay this? Are they going to want to pay this? Are they going to stick around for this? And the answer to that is, of course they're not. Why would they stay in New York City if you're going to be taxed more? When you can go live someplace else, produce the same product, have less regulation, why would they stick around for that? They're not going to. And it shows in this Moneywise article I've got for you. It says, New York City's Mamdani plans have now sparked a $100 million rush into Florida real estate as nervous New Yorkers flee the city. Is this the end for the Big Apple? I think so. I think it is. I think it's just the final nail in the coffin there. But of course, in the months leading up to this election, they talked to a CEO of Miami-based developers BH Group. And he's then since said, this guy's name is Isaac Toledano, he said that he's seen a surge of interest and, of course, money pouring in from the north. And his firm has closed more than $100 million in signed contracts from New Yorkers buying over the past few months, about twice last year's volume. So you're seeing a state that's very much freer than the state of New York, and again, growing population. You're seeing this money transfer there. And again, you're seeing a real estate boom down there because, again, you have Governor Ron DeSantis talking about possibly removing property taxes. So all these things are very big lures and ploys for people to come and invest in Florida. Why wouldn't they? Why would they stick around in New York, where property taxes are high, sales taxes are high, the state income tax is high? You've got this communist now running around New York City talking about free this, free that. I'm going to charge you this. I'm going to tax you this. In the end, what's going to happen, folks? First of all, you're not going to get any of that. But the people that leave, right, the people that pay the most in taxes, typically, they're going to leave. They're just going to get out of there because they can afford it. And the real losers are going to be the working, the middle-class people, or the people that try to be middle-class at least, in New York City. And the costs are going to fall upon them. It's always been that way. Just so we're all clear on that. So again, it's not a shock that this is happening right now. But we're going to see this mass exodus out of New York City. That's what I predict, at least. Just judging by this already. I mean, before he was even elected, we have $100 million investments in real estate already in Florida. I mean, that's just a sign that, a bad omen for New York City, I think. I think so. And again, it's only the start of it. You're going to see a lot more people starting to leave the state of New York come very soon. Just so that I'd share that with you. And he takes office, I think, December 31st, I think he takes office of this year. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if New York is on life support, just like the great state of California is. Red State had a good article, too. And this was a woman who was kicked out of Gold's Gym after confronting a radical LGBTQ XYZ WTUV lawmaker over support of men in women's spaces. What's going on here in California? Well, a black lesbian woman who said that she was barred from a Los Angeles Gold's Gym after making a complaint about a creepy encounter with a trans-identifying male, a.k.a. a male, in the women's locker room, confronted a radical LGBTQ XYZ lawmaker who's responsible for many of these states' biological defying laws. And this happened during a town hall on Monday evening. So the woman, singer Tish Hyman, that's her real name, confronted California State Senator Scott Wiener, that's also his real name, and he is a complete scumbag, just so we're all clear on this. He's out of San Fran Schmucko. That should tell you a little bit about his mental illnesses. And he's now running to replace Nancy Pelosi. Isn't that great? So now these bad ideas can come into the federal government, not just the state government of California. And this woman kind of went off on him about what had happened, and then she wanted to ask him a question, and it kind of fomented it into the following. I want you all to hear this. This is actually a pretty good one. Yeah, but she confronts him on the idea that, this shouldn't be happening, and we need to protect women in these situations, and these kinds of attacks are increasing all across the country, not just in California.
And I'm telling you as a woman, first and foremost, that this is dangerous, and we need your help, because you're in the office, you're going to go in the Polisky spot. I want to support you. I have millions of people behind me watching this right now, and we want to know, are you going to protect women? Not trans women, women. Trans women are different things. Women. Listen, we need to protect women's safety. I was assaulted. I was assaulted. No, they are not. They are men. I was assaulted by men. He broke his wife's jaw so bad she needed reconstructive surgery. I'm a lesbian. I'm not transphobic, and I'm black. So if there's another black woman in here who wants to tell me how they feel, please join in. But all of you are not. And I don't know who you are, what you are, but I'm a lesbian, and I'm telling you right now, men are harassing women in the locker room.
Let's let him answer the question.
I'm just telling you, since y'all want to woo.
No, just let's.
Now I'm done. And by the way, I respect what you have done. I just want to let you know that. I know.
So she wants to respect what he's done, which is put mentally ill men in women's locker rooms, telling you that a man who thinks he's a woman is a woman. A man who thinks he's a woman could just go in the women's locker room, attack people. It's okay. Women obviously don't like this because they're normal. But a woman who thinks she's a man could be a man. I mean, this is the lunacy of which we live in, of course. Now he's going to try to double down on both situations. He's going to try to smooth it out with a bunch of BS, of course, and I'll let you listen to him respond to this.
Let's give the senator the opportunity.
I'm done.
I appreciate your point of view.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry that you were harassed,
Multiple times.
and I appreciate you talking about it. I think we need to protect the safety of all women, and that obviously that's incredibly important. And I also know that trans women are also brutalized in this country. So women and cisgender women are brutalized in this country, and we have to protect the safety of all women.
We have to protect women. We cannot be raped in the bathrooms by men that want to say they're women. They're not women. They're not women. I'm leaving. It's okay, but I'm not going to take it. I am leaving because you know what? You guys are not protecting women. You're doing a lot. The bills that you're passing for the law, I read a lot of them. They're great. But this things with the trans, it's not right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I like your bills, even though you're putting men in the locker rooms to rape women. Okay. I told you before, this guy is one of the most pro-pedophile, anti-parental, pro-LGBTQ lawmakers in probably the country. And he's vying for Nancy Pelosi's congressional seat. So now you're going to see these bad ideas starting to come to Capitol Hill very, very soon, should he win this race, God forbid. But this is something you need to keep your eye on, because this is the reality of what's happening around us. They are trying to push this agenda that a man can go in the woman's locker room so long as he just feels like he can. And if he attacks a woman, well, there's also, these guys that think they're women, they also get assaulted across the country. Really? Where is that happening? Can anyone point to that? Where a man who thinks he's a woman is getting assaulted more than women are in this country? Can anyone point to that? I don't think so. Again, he would throw up a stat if he had one, but he doesn't. But, they can just say whatever they want. Everyone in the room nods, and that's it, of course. Nothing will get done about this, by the way. They'll keep the same policy. They'll say, oh, thank you for saying this. And then nothing happens, of course. Because we're not protecting women, largely in places like California. Again, is this an environment you want to raise your children in? You have to be honest with you. Ask yourself this. Would you want to raise your young daughters in this situation where a guy can just walk in the locker room, or a high school boy can walk in their locker room and undress, watch them undress? I mean, it's just sickening when you think about it. It's perverted is what it is. There's no way to say it to you, so that's the way I've got to say it to you. But this is the reality of the situation. You can't change your sex. All right? You can't do it. You can think you're whatever you want, but that doesn't mean we all should be following along with this nonsense. Biological science is indefinite. You can't change what sex you are. No matter how hard you try, no matter what you rip off, sew on, add to, unattach, all this other nonsense. No matter what puberty blockers you use, you can't change your biology. End of story. That's what the proper answer should be. And of course, this should be thrown out. But Gavin Newsom likes to sign this crap into law, of course, because who knows? Can you imagine if he was president and this schmuck was a congressman writing laws in California with a Democrat majority? Ugh. Sickening, folks. A rough road ahead, I have to tell you. Let's move on to the AI front again. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I wanted to kind of revisit this. Paul Craig Roberts has a great article out today on his website. And he says that AI is a threat to all of humanity now. What does this say? It says AI's advantages have been overestimated and its cost underestimated. He goes on to say that he recently read a large project entrusting to AI involving a number of corporations that failed so badly that high-priced human experts had to be brought in to rectify the situation. Overall, the project cost more than the promised AI savings. So you're always going to need human beings, just so we're all clear on that. But they're going to try to outsource a lot of these jobs to this AI phenomenon to cut costs, of course. But again, AI in many costs are simply ignored. There are human costs. We talked yesterday on the show that if this trend continues, we're looking at 20% unemployment rate across the country. That would be devastating to our economy because you're going to have so many people out of work. And again, such as unemployment, isolation, people don't learn data sources, their problems, or how to use them. Again, you don't need to learn grammar or how to write and so on. So there's lots of economical costs, but there are also lots of educational costs as well. There's also an electricity problem. Much electricity is required for this as well. You got many data centers are being built or overbuilt. You have people living in their vicinity are experiencing a doubling or tripling now of electricity prices simply because demand has outrun the supply. Go look at California if you don't believe me. But the money needed to build these data centers pulls money away from other investments as well. And, perhaps the largest cost of this AI is the demise of education. Think about that for a second. And, of course, the control over truth and objective truths, of course. That gives whoever controls these databases, these AI centers, right, that we use. And, students, primarily, I've seen this as an educator as well. Students are going out, they're having papers written by AI, never once reading the book, reading about the topic at hand, never reading about the essay or the research paper. Do kids even know what a research paper is today? I don't even know. But they absorb, no information to write the paper, but they have the AI do it, and it comes out sounding good. And they get away with it in many regards. They don't need to learn grammar. They don't need to know how to spell. AI does it for them. You have already kids school age. They don't even need to learn multiplication tables because they have the computers do it for them. They don't need, when I was growing up, way back when, we had to learn the multiplication tables. You learned how to do it and you were tested on it. And now they don't even need to learn cursive. They don't need to learn writing because they have keyboards or voice commands that do it for them. And I've seen this firsthand. I got to be honest with you. I've seen it firsthand. When I had an assignment, a written assignment, I always had my students write things out. And they always used to, why are we doing this? Why do I have to write? Because when you write things out, not only are you perfecting your fine motor skills of writing, but you remember more so when you write something down than if you're just typing it blankly into a keyboard. Think about that. But today kids don't even know how to sign their signatures. They don't even know how to sign cursive. They've never learned it. So how are they going to sign checks? How are they going to sign a lease or a contract when they can't even write out their own signature? This is serious that this is happening. But again, they're neglecting this primarily in the public school education. Not a good thing, folks. Just thought I'd bring that up to you, of course. But they do not need to know the knowledge or have the ability to think because they can just ask AI. What does AI think? They don't need to ask anybody else. They don't need to formulate their own opinions. So it's not just affecting employment, but it's also affecting how people's minds develop. And again, when you just rely on a computer screen, or if you're looking at a computer screen all day, what are you really learning? You have to think about that. So AI's main advantage, of course, is the speed of it, of course. And again, we've had AI-related technology for some time. You used to go on Google. Many of you still do. I don't use Google, of course, but that is a type of AI. We have to understand this. It's just getting more and more proficient. It's getting more and more sound. Well, you just type in specifically, give me X, Y, and Z, show it to me right now. Before you'd have to search it and find data, look it up, print out the article, read the article. Now it can just type it all up for you. So really, Google, that kind of software, all these things have been out, but it's just becoming more sound. It's more in tune. But we got to notice, AI's results depend on the database. So you have to ask yourself, if the database is biased, is it incorrect? Are they contrived to support a certain narrative? Are they giving you some type of results based on a certain algorithm? Where are they pulling the information from? And how are you going to figure it out if that's all you have to work with? Again, I just told you, kids don't read books anymore, primarily. So how are they going to get firsthand information? They're going to rely on the AI database. That's what it's going to come down to. And again, if the database, for example, is the U.S. or European media, my God, imagine the incorrect answers to inquiries about things like the conflict in Ukraine, 9/11, Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi, the war in Gaza, Iran, China, the 2020 presidential election, COVID, and so on and so forth. And many people think AI is just smarter than humans, but they attribute the truth to AI. And again, whoever controls these databases puts this information, it's all typed in, by the way. It has to be done that way. But whoever controls these databases control what people think the truth is. They don't think the AI can ever be wrong. And again, they should make it very clear that AI is this perfect tool for tyranny based on the control of information, an information type war. And for this reason alone, AI should have never even been developed to this extent, of course. But people should understand that liberty depends on an objective truth, and they should have deep-sixed AI and never developed it. But the powers that be, of course, want to use this. Why? So they can control what you think. Very Orwellian, isn't it? When you think about it. One example he gives, too, and this is a very long article. I'll let you go and read the entire thing. But he says here, Big Pharma's grants to medical schools, to medical researchers, gives the pharmaceutical industry influence over the curriculum of medical education and over the articles published in medical journals. So what is he talking about here? What he's saying is, let's say you go to Johns Hopkins University, a very big medical school in the United States, right? You're doing your doctoral work, and you've got to publish an article. And you're doing research for this article. And you're trying to get a grant money. You're trying to get money for this. Certain of these medical lobbies that go out there, they will only give certain money, for example, if you're producing the outcome they'd like to see. So see how that works? They can change the data around, make it look like this X causes Y, of course, or, A equals B, whatever they want done. They can produce an article like that based on the information, but they do it all the time. So, you've got two prestigious medical journals, particularly the New England Journal of Medicine, of course, the British journal, The Lancet. Both say that 70% of the articles published are funded by Big Pharma. So if Big Pharma wants you to buy more Tylenol, they'll produce an article saying, oh, well, Tylenol is great. It alleviates this, alleviates that. Tylenol is safe. We surveyed X, Y, and Z number of people, and everyone was just fine. Everything's great. And you read that and go, oh my God, that's so great. I'll pop a Tylenol right now. You have to understand this. They do this all across the board. They do this in climate science. You try to go out there and say that carbon dioxide doesn't cause global warming. You try to see if you can get a grant money for that research in your lab. You'll never get it. But you'll find plenty if you go for that narrative. You'll see it nonstop. This is the way these things work. And again, it's not going to be any different with the AI for medical databases when you look up things. Just so we're all clear on that. So we've got to understand where this information is coming from, who's producing the information, and how do we vet this information? How do we know what the truth is? Now, again, I'll implore people to go on and read about topics of which they're very interested in. I think that's a much better route than just typing in information into a computer and having it spit out information to you. Just my thoughts on it. But Paul Craig Roberts is right. I mean, this is a war for the mind. It's a war to control the narrative. And again, whoever controls these databases, and it will be consolidated, and understand that, they will control the information that's out there. Just thought I'd be clear on that. And again, we talk about information, who's giving information. This is in the Gateway Pundit. It says that the United Kingdom halts intelligence sharing with America regarding narco-terrorist drug boats in the Caribbean. It says that strikes are illegal. So now we've got the UK coming in and saying, hey, listen, we're not going to share information with you because we don't think what you're doing is correct here. Think about that for a second. And again, for decades, the UK, the United States, maintained this very close relationship going back to World War II, when they actually got us into World War II, thanks to Winston Churchill. But now our British allies have made an alarming move that raises questions about this relationship. What is going on here? And by the way, what are we doing in the Caribbean? I've talked to you about this several times before. We know that the Trump administration's carried out several attacks on these so-called cartel boats in September, primarily coming out of Venezuela into the Caribbean. And, 6 killed in attacks just on Sunday alone, bringing the total number to at least 75 narco-terrorists, allegedly, who have been killed in these operations. Now, you've seen them come out, you've seen Trump come out and saying, well, they're trying to bring these poisonous drugs in the country. We're just going to kill them. And people clap because they don't want drugs in the country. And again, I share that sentiment with them. I don't want drugs in the country as well. Again, but the idea that you can just kill people over an alleged crime and not even charging them with a crime is pretty nefarious, and it's pretty unconstitutional, I'd have to say. But the number of drug boats destroyed by U.S. forces following the 2 strikes has increased to 19 since the operation began in September. By the way, these are people charged with nothing. We don't even know the names of these people on these boats. And yet we're continuing on, just nonstop. You have Pete Hegseth all about it. He gets a big kick out of it. But you have to understand something, folks. There's due process with all this. If you suspect a boat is coming into the United States to bring deadly drugs, whatever drug it might be, fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. The idea that you're just going to blow the boat up with all the evidence on it, by the way, is ridiculous. They haven't been charged with anything yet. You're just suspecting that they are bringing drugs into the country. There's no evidence of this at all. And now they're saying, and this article is suggesting the same thing, is that Britain is now stabbing us in the back despite the inherent dangers these cartel boats pose. And again, I'll say this again. Are they firing at anybody? Are they trying, are you stopping the boat and they're trying to, fire on you? That's a different situation. But they're just blowing these boats up from 1,500 miles away. They're like fishing boats. But again, they're calling them suspected drug vessels. Claiming legal authority for such strikes is important. The UK finds it dubious, though. Of course, we're saying, no, it's important. We need to do this. Folks, I've told you this before. We're trying to get into a war in Venezuela. We're already putting CIA agents down there to create a coup to take out Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela. Do you think if we weren't in this situation, we would give a damn about any boats leaving Venezuela? Do you think we would care about any of this? Do you think we would care about Venezuela if they weren't the number one producer of petroleum in the region? Probably one of the top in the world. They've got gold mines. They've got natural gas. They've got all this. And we want to take it over. And I told you before that the woman who won the Nobel Peace Prize, if you want to call it that anymore, this woman's actively trying to push a coup to take him out. Once she gets in office, she's already said she'll sign all this over, give it away to the highest bidder. And of course, the Trump administration is hoping it's them. So they get more oil, petroleum, they get natural gas, they get, into their gold mines, all this stuff. All this stuff. So she's going to sell out her country to the highest bidder. That's what it really comes down to. That's why we're in the region. That's why we're sending the USS Gerald Ford down there. That's why we're blowing up these boats. That's why this is all happening. It has nothing to do with drugs coming in the country. If that was the case, why are we blowing up any of the drug cartels trying to smuggle drugs into the United States right now? I mean, they're already talking about maybe doing that, by the way. What about all the drugs that come out of Colombia and Ecuador? What are we doing about that? I mean, again, it's just a farce that we're seeing all this right now. And because people don't like drugs, they say, well, it's a good thing. The drugs aren't coming in. Wait, come on, folks. Most of the drugs in this country come in through Mexico. We know that's true. We know it's happening. What have we done to stop the drug cartels? Name one drug cartel we've killed coming in the country. And even if the drug cartel were bringing drugs in the country, you arrest them first, you charge them with a crime, and they face our courts. I already told you it's a violation of the Fifth Amendment. That's what this is. And again, I'll implore you to go read Judge Andrew Napolitano's article on the matter. He is very sound in the Constitution. He's absolutely right in this situation. But now look at this. This is from CNN. For years, the UK, which controls a number of territories in the Caribbean, where it bases intelligence assets, has helped the United States locate vessels suspected of carrying drugs so that the U.S. Coast Guard could indict them. Yeah, that's the way it should go. If we think this boat has drugs on it, we stop them, we arrest the people on it, we seize the drugs, we detain the crew, we charge them, and they face the sentence for that. Now we're just blowing up these boats. But now the intelligence was typically sent to joint agencies and the task force in the South, a task force that is stationed in Florida that includes representatives from a number of partner nations and works to reduce illicit drug trade. Okay, that's totally fine. I'm not against all that. But shortly after the U.S. started now launching these lethal strikes against boats in September, the UK government grew concerned that the U.S. might use intelligence provided by the British government to select certain targets. And, of course, the British officials believe that the U.S. military strikes, which have killed 76 people now, violates international law. Of course it does. Of course it does. The UK said that it agrees with an assessment made by the UN's human rights chief, says that the defensive talks come as, the United States is violating international law. They're pushing these defensive strikes to kill people that have been charged with nothing. People we don't even know their names. So even the UK is trying to get out of this. But the Trump administration want to say, of course, this is nonsense because these cartel boats are engaging in an act of war against the United States. Okay, well then, hey, Mexico's engaging in an act of war. Ecuador, Colombia, where a bulk of these drugs come in from. Are we going to go to war with them too? How come? Why not? Can anyone answer that question? Of course you can, because it's a bunch of nonsense. If these people are bringing in drugs to the country, they should be detained, they should be arrested, they should be charged in a court in the United States. And that proper sentencing should happen. That is per the Constitution, folks, and you can't get around that simply because you want to. I know some of you don't like to hear that. I know Trump is doing the right thing by killing all these people. They're not charged with anything. We have no idea if there's even any drugs on these boats. What's to stop them from saying, hey, a boat left Venezuela, they're definitely coming here to sell drugs. In boats that are fishing boats that can't even reach the United States coast. Come on, folks. Let's be logical about this. We're also seeing, though, speaking on the illegal alien front, this is in the Washington Times, said the Department of Homeland Security's surge to arrest and deport illegal immigrants in Chicago has led to a historic drop in major crimes over the past 2 months. Reports of homicides, shootings, robberies are all down significantly, as well as carjackings have dropped nearly 50% since the start of September of what the department labeled Operation Midway Blitz. The DHS calling these numbers a historic win. So, Chicago's known for, obviously, the immense shootings. It has every single weekend, of course, number of people killed. And for decades, these sanctuary policies have exacerbated these crime statistics in Chicago, right? And, of course, you're not getting any help from Mayor Brandon Johnson, who's a complete dunce. Nothing from Governor J.B. Pritzker the pig. He does nothing, too. They approve of all this. But now, thanks to our brave DHS law enforcement, Chicago's experienced a historic drop in violent crime, is what Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said. It's common sense. When you remove the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens from our country, crime rates plummet. And, of course, who's opposing that? The Democrats in the state of Illinois, of course. The department specifically called out Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, saying the enforcement surge delivered results by undercutting their sanctuary policies. Yeah. It's amazing what happens when you enforce the law, right, folks? But, it's Chicago's a sanctuary city. Illinois is a sanctuary state. And they want these illegal aliens there so they can vote in these elections, of course. That way they can stay in power. Yep, there you go. There you go. Johnson wanted ICE-free zones. And he wanted to arrest ICE agents in Chicago. It's like, hey, genius. The federal government supersedes state law. They are carrying out federal law. That's for the federal government, genius. You run a city in the state of Illinois. You have no jurisdiction over people coming in, working for the federal government, doing their jobs. It's just the way it works. So good on the DHS getting rid of illegal aliens in places like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, or what have you. And you're seeing crime beginning to drop, even though the numbers are not nearly where they need to be. The Democrats, these NGOs, they continue to work in favor of the illegal aliens. That's just something we're seeing right now. PJ Media says that Texas AG Ken Paxton is now suing a county shielding illegals from deportation with your own taxpayer money. Isn't that nice, Texas? They're using your taxpayer dollars to keep illegal aliens in the state of Texas. But Ken Paxton's having none of it. He says that the Harris County Commissioner's Court allocated $1.3 million to organizations that then use the money to help illegals stay in the country and avoid being deported back to their home nations. Now, Ken Paxton brought this lawsuit against the court, according to a November 11th press release, and one of the rare examples of state authorities taking decisive action to enforce federal immigration law and punish violators. He then went on to say we must stop the left-wing radicals who are robbing Texans to prevent illegals from being deported by the Trump administration. Beyond just being blatantly unconstitutional, this is also evil and wicked. Millions upon millions of illegals invaded America during the last administration. He's right about that. And they must be sent back to where they came from. This guy is, God, he should have been our U.S. Attorney General, Ken Paxton. He would have been a fantastic choice. This guy is a no-nonsense guy. Now, he's running for the U.S. Senate against John Cornyn. But, this guy is just, he follows what he's supposed to do. He gets things done, and he doesn't care what anyone else says about it. It's great. It's absolutely great. But look at this. It says, in a recent 4-1 vote, the Harris County Commissioner's Court allocated $1.3 million in taxpayer funds for distribution to several non-government organizations. We call these NGOs, right? Think of Catholic Charities as being one of the prime suspects of all this. And again, many of these NGOs, by the way, and there's many different ones. Catholic Charities is probably one of the bigger ones, of course. There's one, I forget the name of it. It's, I think Hebrew Immigrant Aid Fund, I think is another one, or something along those lines. There's a Protestant one. It's all ridiculous. These people are aiding and abetting illegal aliens to come in the country. They should all be shut down and investigated, by the way. You have the Soroses Open Society Foundation. I call it the Open Borders Society Foundation because, again, they're pushing this as well. And that's why you saw people coming in from, the third world with a Biden shirt on, right? Biden let us in. What the hell is this? But that's the reality of the situation, of course. And again, these funds went to radical open border activist groups, such as the Galveston Houston Immigration Representative Project, Justice for All Immigrants, Kids in Need of Defense, or KIND, Refugee and Immigrant Center for Education and Legal Services. Wow. Again, these people are the enemy within. This is what they are. They're all about destroying the fabric of the country. And again, these grants not only fail to serve a public purpose, of course, but they're also blatantly unconstitutional. That's another problem with this. They help these organizations violate federal law. And again, all these people should be held accountable for this. All these people should be held accountable for this, unequivocally. Will that happen? Who knows? But you have to look at who these people are. These are courts, they're appointed to these positions by and large. And look what they're doing to your country. They're allowing illegal aliens to be safeguarded from federal law, from being deported, using your taxpayer dollars. I do hope that Ken Paxton gets to the bottom of this, and hopefully this type of nonsense begins to end in this country. The deportation numbers are not anywhere near what they actually need to be, though, unfortunately. I have to tell you that. The current Pope now, Pope Leo, talked about the inhumane treatment of immigrants in the United States. I don't understand this guy. I know he's from Chicago, but come on. This is what he had to say about deportations in the United States.
Someone who says that I'm against abortion, but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants who are in the United States. I don't know if that's pro-life. So they're very complex issues. I don't know if anyone has all the truth on them, but I would ask first and foremost that there be greater respect for one another.
Okay. Greater respect for one another. How about the respect for one's nation? The Pope obviously understands what's happening in Europe right now, I would imagine. In fact, go look up the stats for the number of rapes for native citizens in these countries, UK, Sweden, France, Spain, Germany, Italy. Go look at all of them. And the number of rapes committed by illegal alien invaders that come to these countries through the EU's open border policies. That's destroying the fabric of Europe right now. Go look at it. Go see what it says. It's ridiculous when you look at this. The number of rapes that are going up of the native populations, and of course the governments that are doing nothing about it. Why doesn't he have anything to say about that? Why is it just the West, by the way, that has to open up their borders? Does he ever ask about that? Talk about the inhumane treatment of immigrants? First of all, they're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens. They have no right to be there. I think we all can agree on that. Now, some people argue, no one's illegal. Okay, well, you're an idiot. I don't know what else to tell you. You're dumb. You're an idiot. You have no logical sense in this. A nation has borders. That's just common sense. You can't just walk across without any type of permission, without any type of vetting, without any type of identification. That's what these people are doing. And I know some people are going to say, well, not everyone is nefarious like some of these people. That's fine to say that, but that still doesn't make it right. What's right is right. It's not right to do that. Of course, it's not right to go out and commit violent acts against the native population, which is what we're seeing in Europe right now, where you can't even wave a flag now in the UK without it upsetting the police officers, right? In the state in which you can no longer even carry a gun for self-defense. But of course, the knife-wielding lunatics can come in and, machete you to death and kill you, rape your women and children. And it's supposed to be all fine. You're supposed to be diverse and inclusive. Yep, they're sharing their society with you, aren't they? UK, you dunces, you idiots. I'm surprised they even got the international law right in the last article I read. They're just so misled. Very, very sad to see. All right, folks, we got a couple more minutes. I got to go through. I had a couple more articles. I'm going to try to go through this quickly. Let me go over this one and right scoop it. And I want you to hear this. Trump sat down with Laura Ingram, the other night. I read some of this to you just yesterday. But it got worse as time went on in this article. It didn't make any bit of sense to me, but I want you to hear this. And they got into this discussion about H-1B visa programs, and Laura challenged him on this position, saying, we have the talent here. We really don't need to have so many of these visa holders. We don't need to keep importing people, some 600,000 Chinese students into the higher educational programs. And Trump pushed back on this. Vehemently, he disagreed with this. So I want you to hear this exchange they had, and I got to say hats off to Laura for pushing back on this, and she's absolutely right about this.
Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
I'll
give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. Making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
Okay. So he tries to make the point, I guess, that we don't have the talent here. I don't understand that. But I did a little bit of research on this. I said, okay, let's take this phenomenon that we don't have the talent here, that we don't have Americans that can work in building missiles or batteries or whatever type of sophisticated weaponry or technology that we use in this country. But I researched it for a second. I said, okay. I said, how many graduates each year complete bachelor's, master's, or doctoral programs in America in aerospace engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, and systems engineering in America? What did the wonderful internet come up with? Now, maybe AI is lying to me. I don't know. But they broke it down like this. It said each year in the United States, over 150,000 students graduate with degrees in aerospace, mechanical, electrical engineering, computer engineering, and system engineering combined across bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels. Mechanical and electrical engineering dominate in volume, while aerospace and system engineering are more specialized. Okay, that's fine. So, okay, let's pretend, just for the sake of the argument, we have a new factory coming in. South Korea is going to give us $10 billion to build missiles or battery plant, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I don't care about that. Well, folks, we have 35,000 graduates just of a bachelor's level in mechanical engineering, master's 8,000, and doctoral 1,200. Electrical engineering, of course, more in volume. These two are 20,000 each year, 10,000 in master's, 1,500 in doctoral programs. Computer engineering 8,000, master's 3,000, doctoral 500. Aerospace 5,000 each year, master's 1,500. Doctoral 300, systems engineering 2,000, and bachelor's programs, master's 3,000, and doctoral 400. So you're telling me in the United States of America, we don't have people that are talented enough to work these jobs? Where do all these people go? Where do all these 150,000 people go to every year? And again, this is every year. This isn't just right now. We only have 150,000 people that can do this. So what do you mean we don't have the talent? Of course we have the talent. And again, the idea that we have people from all around the world, from China, from India, all of them, foreign exchange students come here and learn in our universities. You tell me MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Caltech, Stanford, all of our technology schools, Georgia Tech, we're not putting out the best and brightest in the world? I mean, come on, folks. Give me a break here. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Of course we have the talent here. We've got the talent here, but for some reason, we want to bring in people from elsewhere. Why do they want to bring in people from elsewhere, folks? Well, because they want to bring down the wages. That's what it all is all about. It's all about cheaper labor. You can bring in someone on an H-1B visa and pay them, well, much less than you would an American citizen. That's what it comes down to, folks. It's always about economics. And that, my friends, is politics. Folks, thanks for being here with me today. I appreciate you so much. Share the show with some other people. That way we can spread the information out there. And again, I'll see you tomorrow, as always, on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good, stay busy, and God bless each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day.